Hey, welcome to Unrehearsed Research. Today we're going to look at my Wilson line, tracing my fourth great grandparents in Iowa and Illinois back to Canada. If you're new here, my name is Richard Miller with Goldie May, and Unrehearsed Research is the series where we do genealogy while we record, and so we can all learn together. Today I'll be flying solo, but hope to have James Tanner and other guests back soon. So let's jump right in. Okay, I have FamilySearch open, and I'll open up Goldie May as well, and we'll open up the project for Sarah Ann Wilson. I'm looking for her maiden name, her parents' names, and also her husband Hugh's parents' names as well. So I want to learn everything about this couple that I can. And so just to give you a little bit of a refresher where we're at, this is the Goldie May subway map for them. For Sarah Ann, she was born in Canada and lived in York County, Ontario, where a couple of her children were born. Later, she was living in Putnam County, Illinois, and then still later, Adair County, Iowa. So this is an ancestor I covered previously on episode 16 with James Tanner. I went back and watched that today to review some recommendations he gave. And he said, as usual, start with the most recent records and work your way back. So I'd like to find a death record, if any, for Sarah Ann in Adair County. So far, I do have an obituary, so let me show you that obituary. This is an obituary I first saw, I believe, on Find a Grave, and now it's attached to the FamilySearch tree. So if you come in here and go to Find a Grave, you'll see this obituary that says that she died December 12th, 1874, Sarah Ann Wilson, of infirmity and old age at her son's on Grand River in Adair County, Iowa, in the 70th year of her age. She was the wife of Hugh Wilson and was among the early settlers of Adair County. She was a Christian and a neighbor highly esteemed by all her numerous acquaintances, many of whom with her bereft and sorrow-stricken husband and children after religious services followed her to the last resting place. So Greenfield, Iowa, December 15th, 1874. Okay, so with that, I'll tell you that a week or two ago, recently, I was curious about her being an early settler of Adair County. So I thought, okay, maybe there's a county history about Adair County, and let me show you what I found. I'll go into Adair County, the FamilySearch catalog, and we'll go to history. And actually, let me switch this availability to online only resources. And we're looking for, I think it might be this one. Let's go there. You know, this might be the same history, but I actually want a book version, which I saw elsewhere. Maybe this one. Yeah, click here. Now, I had previously started looking through this book page by page, and I realized it's going to be faster if I download this document to my own computer. So I did that. I hit the download button. You can choose a file format PDF, full PDF, and then hit download. After a couple of seconds, you'll see this download to your desktop or wherever on your computer, and then I'm going to open that. I'll open that in my PDF viewer. Okay, great. So I've got this PDF on my computer now, and this is where I started looking for Wilsons, and let me show you what I found. Okay, on page 859 of this PDF, I found an entry that said, during the summer of 1859, Reverend Mr. Hulbert was traveling the Quincy Circuit in Adams County, came over and preached several sermons in Greenfield. On one of these occasions, he organized the first class composed of the following persons, 10 in number: S.K. Mallory, leader; Samantha Mallory, Hugh W. Wilson, Sarah A. Wilson, and then here are other Wilsons I don't recognize: Seth Wilson, Emily Wilson, Martha Wilson, Evie Myers, Samuel Vance, J.S. Rich. This little band of worshipers maintained regular services at the house of S.K. Mallory or at the house of Hugh Wilson, which stood just west of where the UP Church now stands. Reverend Samuel Osborne, a local preacher, labored quite regularly for the little society. Okay, so I'm definitely interested in those three Wilsons, Seth, Emily, and Martha, that I haven't seen before, as well as the reference to the two reverends, the preachers that they worked with. I'd love to know what religion the preachers were so that I could see if there are church records for later in the life when Sarah passes away. If this has been helpful, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell to get notifications. I think from here, and this is where I ended up recently, I think from here I'm going to take a look for Seth, Emily, and Martha on the FamilySearch tree and see if I can find a connection to them that already exists on the tree. And I'd love to also take a look at the two ministers and see if I can find more about what church they belong to and see if that connects me to them. And just so I have this PDF on my computer, but to me that's not a great place for me to keep it long term. So I want to come into the digital version of this book and find them again in the digital version that's in a browser and has a URL, and that way I can log it and keep it in Goldie May. So let me assume that the page numbers on one are the same as the other. We'll go to 859 and we'll come in here and find this. Yeah, this looks like the right paragraph. So I'll take a screenshot of this. And that should drop it into the research log on Goldie May. And I'll come here into the task list and say I want to find Seth Wilson, Emily A. Wilson, and Martha Wilson, who belong to the same church group as Hugh and Sarah in summer 1859. Okay, and then what else? I'm going to say that I'm also interested in who was Reverend Holbert and what church, who was Reverend Samuel Osborne and what church. And let's go to Seth Wilson. And he was living in Adair County, Iowa. And the year, well, I'll leave the year off for a minute. Let's see what we find there. Okay, let's assume that if he was in Adair County in 1859 in the summer, he was there the next year for the census. So maybe I should take this to an 1860 census search. And we'll go to Seth Wilson, living in Adair, Iowa. 91 results. We can narrow that down to Greenfield. All right, let's put that on at an exact place and see if that is a nice change. William Wilson. Okay, that's okay. Let me look for also our other names. Okay, let's also look for Emily in Adair County. Okay, here's our first Emily. I think this will load, and maybe I'll even go to the next tabs and see and let these load. Hey, there we go. Seth Wilson. We didn't look for Seth. We looked for Emily, but Seth must have been indexed wrong. But we see a Seth with an Emily. Oh yeah, it was indexed as Leth. I wonder if I can even correct that in the index. Let's say that that's a Seth. Okay, cool. So let's see if this Seth Wilson, if we look at his records details page, sometimes we'll see that the record's already attached to someone on the tree. In this case, it's not. But I would love to follow, I would love to follow along this Seth and Emily Wilson if I could, and keep them, I'm going to keep them close to my family in case they're related. They're from New York, which is where Leonard was from. All right, so so if Seth Wilson was born in 1810 in New Hampshire, then I want to do a search that way on the tree. So let's come back here to our tree search, and let's come into birth in 1810. New Hampshire, 1810. Should we just give that some range? Seth Wilson of New Hampshire, 1810, and here's a Cedar, Iowa. Let's do a search for by spouse name too, and we'll say that here we're looking for, was it Emily? Okay, so Seth Wilson, 1812, married to an Emily. Okay, I'm not seeing an obvious match for someone in the tree matching the Seth Wilson and spouse Emily, who might be this family that I'm interested in. So I'm going to add them to the tree myself. So we'll go into family tree, and we'll go into recent. And at the bottom, we'll see this option to add unconnected person. And here, let's pull this Seth record off to the side where we can see it easily. Seth Wilson, male, deceased, birth date 1810. All right, as I go to create this new person, FamilySearch is warning me that one of the people I saw in the tree might be him, but I don't know. I guess I could take a look and see what connects them to Iowa. What would make this the family? Okay, let's look at children. Sure, Webster, Martha. Webster, born in 19 in New York. Yeah, that's a good match. Emily, a daughter named Emily. That does look pretty decent, doesn't it? Okay, let me evaluate it in this way. Let's suppose we're going to attach this record to that person on the tree and just evaluate what that looks like. Let's go to the subway map. And we're not interested in Sarah Ann right now. We'll just look at Seth here. Okay, so the subway map is saying that the white points are the points on the tree. These are showing that he's living in Oneida County, New York for all of his life, according to the tree. And then in 1860, the new record would have him in Adair County, Iowa in 1860, just 5 years later after his last point in New York. The birthplaces are off a little bit too. If I pull in the spouse Emily, she dies in, is that right? Emily dies in 1860 in Iowa. Okay, that's interesting to have this family have her die in Iowa. And what if I pull in a child, Webster? Okay, the youngest, or one of the daughters, Martha Wilson, is in Iowa. So possibly this is the family I'm looking at, because there's evidence that the tree family has them moving to Iowa, and this new record would have them from Iowa too, or in Iowa. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. So I have 4 matching names: Seth, Emily, Martha, Webster. The dates of their births are all within a couple of years of this new census record. So yeah, this feels pretty good. I'll go ahead and attach this. So we'll go here and do attach record. And yeah, okay, that's good. This is nice that there's this family, this Seth and Emily Wilson, who go to the church group with my ancestors, are on the tree. And so now I can start to look at where they've gone, where they've been, see how they connect to my family. And I really ought to check, is Seth Wilson, are we related that the tree knows of? Okay, the relationship is coming through my mom's side of the family, which is not our Wilson line. So I don't think this is not the same Wilson line that I'm looking at, but I'm very interested still in this family because of that, because of their connection in the church group. I might want to come back into, okay, let me just save this somewhere. We want to say that this is our let's say that Seth from the church group is, and wife Emily. Oh, and before we get any further, let me open up the PDF we were looking at before, that book from Adair County. There was one more page that I wanted to show you before we go further. Okay, so we looked at page 859, but then on 860, there was more about this, the Wilsons and the other family. Okay, in 1861 and 62, the Adair mission was part of the Lewis district. Reverend Arthur Bradley, presiding elder. Reverend Milligan was the minister in charge. Appointments were Greenfield, Fontenelle. It mentioned some other towns. The first quarterly conference was held in Greenfield, 1861, when the following members were present: J.S. Rich, Samuel Osborne, S.K. Mallory, John Easton, Philip Osborne, and Hugh Wilson. Okay, and then later, organized the first class in Fontenelle during his pastorate in 1862 with the following members, and it mentions Emily Wilson, Seth Wilson. So I'm saying because the tree person we found for Emily already had her passing in, I believe, 1861 in Iowa. So that would not match this Emily Wilson. So let me go back to the Seth on the tree, and let's see why they think Emily Webster died in 1860. Okay, there are no sources for a death in 1860, so maybe I need to track her down more and track down Seth more and see what we can find for them. We're looking at this county history, and it's looking like this Emily Webster can't have died in 1860 if she's the one mentioned in the county history. So let's take a look. I'm going to start looking for Seth and Emily in census records and see if we can find more data about them. Okay, let's come into this 1870 census, and we'll look for Seth Wilson, who is residing in Adair County. And we'll say that he was born 1809 to 1813. No results. Okay, let's see. What if I take out the birth year? Let's see what we have. Whoops, birth year. Wilson with no first name. Let's see what we have here. Age 0. Okay, what if I change that search to be looking for Emily? Okay. Okay, so no Seth and Emily in the Adair County 1870 census. Okay, you know what? I want to try this on Ancestry as well. Seth Wilson, and married to an Emily. Oh, I didn't put in the place name. Edit. Lived in Adair, Iowa. And let's put in his birth year, just for one more avenue. Okay, before I get too far ahead of myself, maybe I should do some basics and search for Seth Wilson on Ancestry, in particular Ancestry trees, because maybe someone's already done a lot of research on this Seth Wilson, and I can piggyback off the research they've done. And you know what? I'm going to put Seth Wilson into my project so I just don't lose that FamilySearch ID. Okay, now let's go look at Ancestry. Okay, and the logo search, as it's sometimes called, where you are on FamilySearch, but you click the Ancestry button to search for your ancestor on Ancestry, is filtering by historical records. So we'll come up here into Edit Search, and I'll change that to Family Trees. Okay, so there's a Seth Wilson found in 22 trees. It jumps out at me right away because I recognize Dutchess, New York as a place where my Wilson line might be from. And he's died in Scott County, Iowa. Emily Webster died in 1860. So that's pretty interesting. Let me take a look at this Seth Wilson profile. And let's go back to the subway map, and we'll just compare the Seth Wilson from FamilySearch with the Seth Wilson of Ancestry. And yeah, a lot of similarity. This Oneida, New York, Adair County. And then this Ancestry tree has some later in Cedar, Iowa, and then Scott. Is this tree right? I don't know, but someone else thinks that this Seth Wilson also went to Cedar County, Iowa after his wife died. Can we find evidence of Emily dying in 1860? Okay, several trees on Ancestry have this Emily Wilson dying in 1860, but I haven't found the definitive source about that yet. This is making me wonder if there are other Emily Wilsons and other Seth Wilsons. Maybe did I check that well enough? Let's do a search where we're looking at all of Iowa, and we'll say that we're looking for a Seth married to an Emily. I think I'm missing some option here where I want to see more. Yeah, maybe that's it. All information. Maybe I should go ahead and say Emily's not optional. Yes, 1860, they didn't enumerate the relationships in the family, so I need to say other person, Emily. Now we're talking. This is, okay, this is more definitive to me that we have a Seth married to an Emily, we assume, in 1860, Adair County, Iowa. What do we know about Adair County records? Can we find a death record for Emily? Death records started being kept in 1880. Hints-wise, yeah, we're not getting any hints for Iowa newspapers. And if I search here, Adair, Iowa, I don't think we have anything that early. Yeah. We could also search Adair, Iowa in FamilySearch images. Let's see if there's anything newly imaged. And let's go into refine search, and we'll say that we're looking in the range of 1858 to 62. Looking for a death record for Emily Wilson in Adair County, Iowa. Death certificates, death records, death indexes, marriage records. That sounds nice. Okay, let's take a look at this death record set and see what we can find. Maybe this is classified wrong. It says internally on the image, it says general index of deeds. Are we on the right group? Item 6 of 8 should be the death records, and we're on item 6 of 8. Maybe this one was just not classified correctly, because it did say on the wiki that death records were not available this early. So maybe I got my hopes up. All right, maybe I'm going to leave it there today. We did some research on Seth and Emily Wilson. We don't know if they're related to our Wilsons, but I have hopes that they are because they're at the same church group. And Seth is from possibly New Hampshire or from Dutchess County, New York, where I have Wilson lines. So it's hopeful. And I want to do more research on Seth and Emily. Maybe we can find the death record for Emily. She either died in 1860 and there was a different Emily that was at this church group in 1862. Or maybe the various ancestry trees that are out there just have that death record or death date wrong for her. And we'll find something better to update that. So I'll update my notes that we're going to keep looking for Seth and Emily Wilson. Did Emily Wilson die in 1860? And then, of course, we can keep going down the path of searching for the Martha Wilson, who's also at the church group, as well as the other people that weren't Wilsons in the group. Plus, we can search for those ministers that ran the group and see what religion they were. Okay, let's leave it there for now. Thank you so much for joining me today on Unrehearsed Research. We'll pick this up again later and see how far we can get with the Wilsons. Thanks so much for watching.